You sold 1,000 products in 3 days of your launch?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Those who don't know Minimalist, we are a skincare brand.
They decided to start a company in the middle of COVID and decided to get into the beauty and personal care.
100 crore of revenue. They were doing some 7 or 8 CR a month.
When did that hockey stick growth happen?
Minimalist raised 110 crore rupees in Series A funding round.
Clinical as a word has been misused a lot, right? And they have data like 80% success rate, 98% success rate.
No research will say that serum will be a big industry in India.
What are you saying? If you look at some of the most successful brands, I'll not name them, but you will understand. Like you said, they're all based on marketing facade.
50 other thing that brands are promoting. There's hardly any data.
What is the difference in behavior that you've seen between men and women when it comes to skincare? If someone were to launch a skincare brand today, what should be a healthy margin that they should keep for gross so that they can consider it to be feasible to enter the market?
So I think the biggest piece in this, which is not controllable by a lot of people.
Now, when you're going against funded competitors and they pour in that funding into spoiling your reputation, that's a disaster, right?
Protecting that is very important because
फेस वॉश करना है, फेस वॉश कर लिया, मॉइस्चराइजर लगा लिया, विटामिन सी लगा, ये तो चलते जा रहा है भाई. तो ये कंज्यूमरिज्म है कि is there a real problem that we are solving?
my answer to this would be
Before we move on, I would like to thank Odoo for supporting our content. People, if you're running a shop, you already know how chaotic retail can get. Orders pile up, stocks get misplaced, cash registers go unchecked, and by the end of the day, you are left with juggling receipts, staff logs, and inventory mismatches. But that's where Odoo's point of sale steps in and changes the game. The Odoo POS shop system is designed to simplify every part of running a shop. You can track every sale, manage cashier accounts securely, and monitor real-time cash flow, and all of this can be done from a single dashboard. So whether you need to see your daily totals or dig into a specific transaction, every past order is just a search away. It helps you schedule shifts, track employee performance, and review cash register activity with complete transparency. And when it comes to inventory, Odoo keeps you updated across all locations automatically, syncing stock, shipments, and even franchise operations if you're managing multiple stores. Your customers can also place and pay for their orders by themselves from a kiosk or their own phones. And as your business grows, Odoo grows with you by offering you tools for accounting, CRM, e-commerce, and more. And the best part is that your first app is free forever with unlimited hosting and support. So if you want to turn your shop into a super shop with crazy sales and super efficiency, click the link in the description and try Odoo POS for shops today. People, this is a conversation that I had with Mohit Yadav, who is the founder of Minimalist. Now, if you think about it, in the skincare category, there are multiple brands, but Minimalist is by far the most successful brand in India. And skincare as a category has always been crowded before and after Minimalist. But even then, Mohit ended up doing something so magical that he took Minimalist from zero to a 3,000 crore valuation in just about 5 years. And that says that Minimalist as a business has something very, very magical to teach all of us. So if you're somebody who's building in the skincare or beauty category, please watch this podcast very, very carefully because it has been designed to act as a step-by-step guide to help you excel in these categories. And I just hope that this podcast helps you build $1 million brand. Thank you so much for watching. And now on to the episode. Mohit, I am deeply interested to understand the story of Minimalist for multiple reasons. A, you started out of Jaipur. Most people would start out of Bangalore or Mumbai. Okay. B, I read some stat which said, and you can correct me if this is wrong, you sold 1,000 products in 3 days of your launch?
yeah.
That is crazy. And in fact, I am educated about skincare because of my wife. Had she not been there, मेरा तो कुछ भी नहीं था bro. फेस वॉश भी बहुत दूर की बात थी. मैं तो वो साबुन से घसता था. ठीक है. From there, I've become an evolved species who now uses vitamin C, vitamin E, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the case in 2025. Today, I see a lot of people around me who are educated about the skincare routine. They may choose to follow it, they may not choose to follow it, but then the education is there. And the hardest thing to do in the market is education. It's not customer acquisition. Because if a customer is educated about it, you can acquire customers. But then going back to 2020 or 2019 when you started, and that too from Jaipur, what exactly prompted you to get into skincare? Because back then, when it comes to awareness, it was significantly lesser, right? So how did you decide to enter this market?
So before Minimalist, we were actually running a different brand called Freewill.
Okay.
And there we were doing some personalized hair care product. And honestly, we started that completely from tech and product angle. That, we come from tech industry. We know some bit of programming and coding. And if we can create personalized solutions for individual, we can do better in product. So say brands are selling 4 different variants. If I have 400 or 4,000, which are uniquely tailored for a particular individual's need, then I'm hoping the product will do better.
What did Freewill do?
So Freewill was doing personalized hair care.
Can you explain this in depth?
Depending on your hair type, your lifestyle, and your goals.
Okay.
We will ask some 25, 28 different questions. And based on those parameters, create a product from scratch. And the entire formulation was written through a program. So my algorithm will say that, okay, which ingredient and what percentage should be added into the product basis the questionnaire that you filled.
Okay.
And then we'll create every product from scratch, you put to the customer. So it's like completely tailor-made for you. So that was the idea. So we roped in some formulators from US and other places. And India team was largely into programming and coding. So it was a tech company, not a CPG, FMCG or a beauty company, right? And we ran it for almost 1.5 to 2 years. And in that period, honestly, we met a lot of suppliers in India, lot of folks, even globally also. And few things, as an outsider, when you are introduced to the industry, you kind of see all those, good, bad side of it, right? And we felt that, most companies, when we look from outside, feels like, bigger companies, larger, R&D teams and all. Bigger promises also. But in honesty, what actually goes into the product is driven largely by marketing and branding. Yeah. And a small team of 10, 15, 20 people can actually create a better product.
Can you give me an example? Like, don't take the name of brands, but then give me an example of such kind of product.
So, okay, say brightening as a category, right? There are some clinically proven solutions which work on brightening. Vitamin C is one such ingredient. When used in a certain concentration, it gives desired outcome. Law as such does not require the minimum percentage of that product to be used for those claims. So say if I have 0.1% vitamin C, I can still call it a brightening product. And someone is giving 10, 15% vitamin C also can still call it a brightening product. Right? Both are brightening. Regulators will ask that for the claim, what is the support? You will say, I'm using vitamin C. They will not test the validity, concentrations and all. It's okay about it, right? And whenever some new thing come, lot of time your basic product is same. You just play with those minor concentrations, which just revolve around the brand or the claims you're taking, right? And we felt that is not how the product should be created. Second is how they are even marketed to people. So again, if I know I'm not using the right concentration, claiming it to be a brightening product, claiming it to be something else, again, we felt this is how it should not be, right? There are many products which are absolutely very different in terms of what they offer. So say it will have fragrance of rose and sold as maybe rose extract or something. Sensorially, you will feel, oh, I can sense it has the fragrance and all, but it's just a fragrance. There's no rose extract and all, right? So a lot of those things were like an eye opener for us also. And we felt that, customers should not be treated like that.
But how did you discover this? This is a very technical problem, right?
So when you actually talk to a lot of suppliers and vendors, we used to start visiting a lot of expos. the constant question people used to ask, what is your marketing story that you're looking at?
Okay. Not your ingredients.
Exactly. Right. And I said, okay, we are here to solve, like that time we were working on hair care, that how to work on a, say, hair fall. I don't have a story. I don't even care whether this ingredient come from Brazilian rainforest, come from African, come from Korea. How does it matter? Does it work or does it not, right? And if you say it work, do you have clinical data or study to prove? Trust me, 90% of those have no real data. And you can, if you'll think now as a consumer, every time you will see a different trend come, brand will say, oh, we found some revolutionary ingredient. It stays in market for 2 years and then it go away and something else again is in market.
For example, if Amazon rainforest is something that's in everybody's mind, can you expect a big brand to say, oh, you know what? We have extracts and minerals taken from the Amazon rainforest? You can?
You can. By putting trace amount of it, right? You don't have to put in the same concentration. Like, I think for a while, even for hair loss in India, onion and onion related product become a fad. If you'll actually see a lot of data, there's none. There are hardly any clinical studies or research done on that. And after 2 years, it becomes something else, right? If something is actually revolutionary, deliver what it promises, there's no need for any brand to change those stories every 2 years.
Correct.
Right? Then it'll be a different story, then it'll be a different story, and then the cycle continue to go on and on and on, right?
And also the celebrities will keep changing.
Yeah. And if you'll see actually on the pharmaceutical, those products, some of those ingredients continue for a very long time. Like say if you go and talk to a dermat and say if you're dealing with acne, 2-3 solution doctor have been prescribing for a long time. One is salicylic, one is benzoyl peroxide. I don't know how many decades these products are being sold, how many clinical studies have been done on that. They have results on certain concentration, right? So you'll find a lot of that data. If you create a product, you know what outcome you'll get. Anything other than that, with 50 other things that brands are promoting, there's hardly any data. So again, we were outsiders. We did not know how industry work. And we felt that, what can be our superpower? My superpower is not creating a new trend. I don't think we can do that. Our superpower is not a branding or brand story. That, hey, I know I can say something which people would want and I can continue to sell through those stories. We felt we have been very functional throughout our life.
Okay.
And that may be because of our upbringing, because of the city where we come from, maybe a lot of other factors. Maybe just because we were outsiders also. And we felt there would be some customers like us who just wanted to buy a product because it's solved. Right? So again, if I know I'm dealing with acne, every day in the morning, my only concern is what should I apply just to solve this? I don't then care, where this ingredient is coming at. I don't dream next day, oh, what if I have a different ingredient which can solve this acne, right? I mean, just solve it and move on.
What if I have Brazilian extracts on my face?
Exactly. I mean, you feel that, there are so many things that goes in your life. Just solve this part so that I can do something else in my life. I mean, I don't have like 5 hours every day to just think about it. And we felt that, can we create a functional brand which work on clinical proven solutions? And then which is transparent. You give what it is. It's just started with the belief that there would be some people like us who would want their skincare to be like this.
So result-oriented products. That's it.
Correct. And when I say result-oriented, what we internally call it, clinically proven. Because clinically proven will give you result-oriented.
Funnily enough, clinically proven, clinical as a word, has been misused a lot, right?
Absolutely.
But tell me something, Mohit. Before we get into skincare, I'm just asking this out of curiosity because I've been seeing a lot of brands pop up lately which often claim to solve hair fall.
Yeah.
And they have data like 80% success rate, 98% success rate.
Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to understand because we might have a founder over here who's claiming to solve hair fall. But before that, I just want to understand from you, can you really solve hair fall? And can you really solve for baldness?
There are some solutions, and depending on the complexity of the problem, some of those solutions might work for you. So someone who is dealing with, say, a very normal hair fall, the problem may have initiated. You even find products which are OTC, over the counter without prescription, that you can buy, and you can start your routine with that. Then on the level 2, there are some pharma product also where you have minoxidil based product. They also have a lot of data around it. Then the third is if you have some deficiencies, which then can be solved in a different manner. So depending again, see, no one solution can work for every individual. And then depending on the type of problem you have, you can start with something which is more milder, which is like, say, over the counter. And if it is not working, the best is to consult a doctor, figure out what exactly the changes you need to do, and then look at the solutions. Can it be solved? The answer is yes. It may not be a hit and try always.
I mean, it is a hit and try always, correct?
It may not be. I mean, if you go and talk to a dermat or someone, you can just skip the hit and try. So a lot of time I've seen people that, I'll keep on trying multiple product, and then you feel, oh, this is working, this is not working. And then at times you give up on it, right? That, okay, I've tried 50 solutions, it's not working. And sometimes, topical product can only do so much. If you have certain other deficiencies, you need to see it in a more holistic manner. So again, I never felt that skincare will be skincare separately, or wellness in a different category, or say pharma in a different one. End of the day, it'll all converge in a particular manner, and it should be a very holistic wellness. This is how individuals should look at it. And then basis it, how my solution should also come.
Is hair fall dependent largely on genetics?
Some part of it, yes. It can be those challenges also. Apart from that, your exposure, your environment can also be a factor. Again, I'm saying, the severity of it can be different.
So you're saying that the problem is more complex than we think?
Yeah.
You can't have a one solution fits all.
True.
Okay. So if somebody is, let's say, encountering hair fall, what exactly should that person's approach be? Should it be to look for the best products in the market, because then they'll have to go by marketing? Or are there certain products by default that people can use which will solve their problem? Or should they just go and consult somebody?
I think first thing, which is very easy now, to be honest, like educate yourself. And even if you're not able to find right content, there are dermat who don't sell product or do brand endorsement. And again, given internet, you don't have to even follow some dermat which is on your own city. You can even follow someone sitting in US, UK, some other places, right? Who don't have any interest or any, partnership from a particular brand, right? Second is, even you follow any GPT, you can even check that, okay, which ingredient, which basic thing, right? If a basic level of awareness or knowledge does not exist, you will be taken for ride by brands.
Got it. So you're saying that the first step should be to find the root cause of your problem. It could be nutrition deficiency.
And then get educated with some ingredient also. Like, if you would read about minoxidil, there's a lot of data on minoxidil, which is a prescription-based product. On non-minoxidil, there are ingredients like, Redensil, Procapil and other. Those also, if you're aware. Then the third step would be finding a product, right? And in those, rather than going with the marketing claims and all, just turn the label, see whether it contains those ingredients, and if it does, in what concentration. So like, we're talking about vitamin C. Putting a 0.1% vitamin C won't solve your problem. If you know what is the desired percentage, and then select certain product basis this research, you'll always find better outcome.
Got it. So it's research, reason, ingredients, and then products.
Yeah.
Most people actually go the other way around. They first go to products, then they see if they consist of the right ingredients, and then they look for reasoning once the products don't give results, and then eventually then they start doing research as to why aren't these products working out in the first place.
See, you're consuming something, right? I mean, consumption does not happen only with something that you're eating. Even applying topically is also a way of consumption. Don't blindly follow anything. And again, I'll even say for our own brand, question, ask, what it does, what it contains, get some education, and then only trust brands.
Got it. Beautiful. Now let's come back to skincare. As you mentioned, there was a lot of facade that was going on in the market, because of which you realized that most products that exist in the market are not functional products. They're just marketing gimmicks who just do not give out concrete results. Results might be visible here and there, but that's quite perception based. But they don't give out tangible results. And that is when you realize that, okay, there is a gap in the market where if we can design a product that can give out results, then regardless of how much marketing budget you have, you'll be able to scale. Was that the thesis?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then during that time, give me an outlook of the skincare market of India back then on the basis of awareness and TAM or data in case if you have any, and then we can get deeper into it.
See, we never started with TAM for the category because, say, our first few products were face serums.
Okay.
And face serum was very new in India.
Face serum. What is a face serum and how is it different from other products?
So the form factor is different. So say a moisturizer is more of an emulsion or cream. A serum is, in a laymannish, if I have to explain, more like a liquid based product. So the objective of that is to deliver the ingredient to the receptors and also let it work, right? So the format is different, and that is how we started. If I go back and look at all the research of 2019, no research will say that serum will be a big industry in India, right? Because the challenge with most reports is they give you data of things which already happened or where they are today. Very few report can tell you where things will be. And at times you have to, have a gut feel or a hunch or something that, okay, I think this will be big. Because again, people are becoming more aware. There's high level of understanding about these ingredients. You can even see how things are, shaping up globally. And basis that, do you think that will be relevant in India or not? So that is how we also started. So not with the time and all.
Okay. Any observation that you particularly made which inspired you to get into skincare?
So the journey was actually pivot from Freewill. So you said, I told you, right? We were working on Freewill, we were doing hair care. And around that time, we were thinking of creating a personalized range of skincare also. Challenge with personalization is distribution. Because I'm creating every product from scratch, I am not able to leverage retail. I'm also not able to leverage the marketplaces and other channels because in those cases, you need to have a product which is already in their warehouses. And around that time, of course, we all were impacted by COVID. So we had some 3-4 months in which we took a step back. It gave us some time to think how we should launch this category. And one idea that we had is, why can't we create problem-specific product? Let people buy more than one to create their own personalization. That also solve our distribution issue which we had with personalization.
Oh, that's beautiful, bro. Problem-specific product. Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So say what we're doing in personalization is, and specifically to say skincare, say you have two requirements that I have some pigmentation mark and then maybe I'm 30 plus. I also need some solution for aging, right? I can then create a product which contain both the solutions in a bottle. Second can be, I have two products now. One is very specific to pigmentation. One is very specific for aging. You can buy both the product. You can use as a layering or maybe one in the morning, one at night. And through that, you can create your own personalized routine. And if we are able to identify, say, 10, 15 unique problems, it can be different combinations can work for different people. And that is how they can create their own, routine or programs.
Got it.
But with that, we are able to use every marketplace and all the offline channels also for distribution. So that was the thesis behind launching Minimalist.
Now, if I have to go back and encounter a challenge, I'm imagining that you're calling a product a face serum, right? Or were you calling it something else?
Face serum.
So Minimalist face serum. Okay. Now, as a customer, if I were to go back to 2019, right? If I have to go back to 2019 and then I encounter a face serum, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what kind of problem is it going to solve for me. And you did not have a big fat marketing budget either. So how did you convince the customer that this is face serum and it can be used for A, B, C problems?
See, I think at a very early stage, and again, this is my personal belief, right? You need those 5,000-10,000 people who can make sense of it, right? You should be everything for someone and something for everyone. So creating a product which is like, a small set of people are really looking forward in the market to have. So for those small set of customers, Minimalist probably was everything,
Okay.
right? That, I'm looking for solutions which are clinically proven. I'm looking for these serums. I was looking for, say, salicylic with 2% because I'm like very evolved in skincare and I'm very knowledgeable consumer, right? And this exactly fit into the kind of product I was looking at,
Which was face serum.
which was face serum, versus trying to look at a much larger TAM where different segment of customers just feel, oh, there's one more brand. I don't feel very excited about it. Which is like, okay, it's okay that, the 101th brand or whatever it is, right? So that was our thought, that if we look at customer in different pyramid, the top is, the early movers, those who know about the segment, those who know those concentrations pretty well. Because even in serum, the first 4 or 5 were actually sold with the ingredient name. So the product were 2% salicylic acid or say 10% niacinamide. So that is how we were selling it, not by acne serum or a whitening serum or something else. These were sold on ingredient in their concentration specifically, like retinol 0.3%, right? And we knew these people will know about it.
Who are these people? So if I were to understand the spectrum of early movers, if you go from early movers to late majority, in the tech domain, you know who are the early movers.
Right.
And if I were to map them out amongst a population of 1.4 billion, I would usually categorize them as teenagers who are really excited to try gadgets. Then I would look at all the tech geeks who go to these tech conferences where they are by default early movers because of their profession. And then I can go and sell a software product to them. Or maybe I can go and sell a gadget to a kid. It's very easy to identify the early movers for tech. Similarly, when it comes to protein, a person going to the gym is aware about whey protein. He's aware about casein. So I can find my subset of customers over there at the gym. Now, what I'm not able to wrap my head around is how on earth did you find the early movers in skincare? How would you go and find that subset? Would it be with the dermats, or would it be a specific place that you go to? Or was that, through performance, if you can find that particular niche who are extremely aware? How did you go about it?
See, first few months was not driven by performance because, again, as you rightly mentioned, it is very, very difficult to find those customers, right? Because there's no one particular group. And even if you work with dermat, it's a very... it's a long process that, you talk to each and every dermat, and then the dermat will maybe inform 3 or 4 of his patient, and the cycle will just continue to go on for a very long time, right? You need to find people who are dealing with some problems, right? And that can happen through searches, right? Second is, from that segment, there would be some who would be consuming content and are aware about some of these solutions. Example, look, if I don't have a skin concern, my probability of that time, I'm saying 2019, knowing what salicylic or retinol is very low because I'm not very invested into it. So usually the one who is dealing with those challenges would be doing some research.
Correct.
So that is how basically the initial journey started. So search for us become important part. And the first few were also, the product that we launched were also very problem specific. So again, your painkillers versus vitamin, right? Now we have a lot of products which are maintenance, good to have and all. Initial some were basis 3 or 4 problem, which we felt are very prominent in India.
Okay. Like?
Say acne is one. So if you're a teenager, large percentage of customers do go through it, those challenges. Second is again pigmentation, which again is a big problem in India. Aging, I will not call it problem, but beyond a particular age, it's a perceived problem. And then your skin type. So, you may have either very dry or very oily skin. So that is how the first 4 or 5 products were designed.
Perfect. So let's say you understood that the largest tab, let's say, exists for acne because it's very commonly visible and you can actually understand the customer better. And then you've got your products like retinol and salicylic acid. Now, how did you find those customers and how did you sell it to them?
Yeah. So we started our journey through our own social media page. And we feel that, we can create a lot of educational content and through which we can, of course, create awareness, eventually 100 customers will come. If they're happy, they will tell maybe 200 more, and then the cycle will continue to go on, right? So, one content creator just found the brand. She did a story or some post in her community section on YouTube that, hey, I came across this brand. The product looked promising, and I'll just give it a try. That's it.
Okay.
She had a very engaged community. So those 100 to 200 people came from her page.
Oh, wow.
Some of them become our customers, right? Then UGC started to kick in. Because
Can you explain
they
UGC?
So they were early movers. So they started posting on their own page that, I am trying this product. Maybe after a week or 2 weeks, once I use the product, I'll let you know. Right? But those in their own group, some of them again were the early movers, early adopters, because if you're able to reach out to them, then it become the viral, right? Then the next set of 200 people would have came from their posts or their stories without even trying the product now, because all this happened in a period of 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So first 500 or maybe 1,000 people just came from this particular virality. One person found out, 100 tried, and then they posted as a story that I'm trying, and another 400-500 tried from there, and they started following our page and all, and that is how our journey started.
Got it.
So we were probably lucky that people found us very easily without spending a lot of money in marketing. But the second set of growth actually came from these people. So after 15 days, after 21 days, once they tried the product and they felt that this is legit, this is working, that built a lot of confidence in the second set of customers.
So you essentially got hold of 2 campaigns for free.
Yeah.
One is I'm trying this product, and the other is I've seen results. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. By the way, guys, UGC is user-generated content. What this means is that this content doesn't have to come from a creator or a celebrity. It can just be produced by ordinary people. But then the word of mouth spreads, and then other people begin to create similar content, which eventually becomes your user-generated content. Okay? Not from a celebrity, not from a creator, just an ordinary user. Okay. So once this happened, then you got a massive influx.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Actually, UGC is something that even use till today. So initially for the 3 month, we had a plan that we will only work with community because we want to show real results and real outcome. And we don't want anyone endorsing the product without trying it. Look, there are a lot of good content creators, but large majority follow a script and they will endorse anything that the brand will ask them to do it without even using the product, right? And we feel that will not be right for a brand. And when we started again, while clinical proven solution one part of it, second was again when we spoke about the transparency and honesty with whom we need to work with customer. And we thought that we'll not do it. Let us also see whether the product is working or not. So first 3 or 4 months, that was the plan. And we started getting a lot of email, DM from a customer that, hey, one thing that I love about the brand is your honesty on the content part. That you don't give a lot of PR packages, you don't give endorsement, you don't work with content creators on paid partnerships. Please don't change it.
Okay.
And we felt that this means so much for people. This is exactly what we should do. So even till now, our paid partnership would have been like 4 or 5 in the entire 5-year period.
But bro, what I think is I actually disagree with that, because if you're a great product, you should market the hell out of your products. Why? Because if you don't do that, we will see other brands who are not authentic, who do not produce results, then engage in this marketing facade, because of which they'll end up capturing your market share. And you will be doing a disservice to your potential customers by not marketing your products.
I may be a little old school in this. So see, what I believe is, one, given now, everyone is on social media. So everyone is a content creator. If today we say ship some 20,000-30,000 product a day, or maybe more than that, large part of that are on social media already. They may have lesser number of followers, but their opinion is highly regarded in that group.
Okay.
Right? versus say a content creator with maybe 1 million followers or so.
Mm.
If we can tap in large number of those customers who actually become our evangelist, the cumulative effect of that would be a lot more as an impact than a paid endorsement.
Okay. But the cumulative impact of that plus paid endorsement will snowball it, right?
It will. Yeah, I said, we were never as such against paid partnership. Like we even did some. And in those cases, our mandate was very clear that, use the product and be authentic about it. Share what you like and also share what you don't like about it. Not many follow this mandate, right? I mean, and you can clearly see that it's very sugar coated. Oh, I love this product. This changed my life and all those things. And we felt that, we're doing disservice to our customer because, they are relying on a particular opinion while in marketing sense, it work. If I think primarily from consumer side, it is actually not right. And, all the things that are telling you that why we started thinking the brands are not, honest with the customers and all, following the same thing will not make us any different than the other with whom we felt, were not. And second is again, if you look at finite versus infinite mindset, we don't have to win skincare as a category like a 3-month. There's a good saying that, you earn trust in drop and leave it in bucket or whatever, right? So, it takes lot of time to build trust.
True.
And one wrong thing and your entire reputation is like gone. Whatever effort that you put in 2 to 3 years, every time say stories on a social media, which is even legit, people will take it with a pinch of salt. That is it true or not?
Yeah.
We don't have that challenge today because I never did it. And with time, if your product are delivering the result, see, people are vocal. At least in our category, we have seen that. So if the snowball is there, if there's a large number of returning customers, eventually you'll grow. And I think we are a good example of those practices. So, if you stay true to the values, if you actually give some value to a customer, people are really nice to give it back multifold.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. In fact, bro, the reason why I asked you this question is because India has a very socialistic mindset. Saying, oh, please don't do paid marketing. There is a very big problem that we have with paid marketing. Essentially, people have a problem with false marketing, not paid marketing. But because all false marketing is paid marketing, they put it under the same bucket.
It's hard to differentiate.
Yeah, it's hard to differentiate because I was having this conversation with Nikhil. And, Zerodha often says that we don't spend on marketing. I said, you're doing a bad job by not spending a lot on marketing. Because if you look at Zerodha, they do things that are so counterintuitive. In fact, Zerodha loses money in some cases by introducing new features. For example, they've got a feature called the nudge. So if there's a stock split, people tend to go and buy that stock because they think, arey, 1,200 rupees ka jo stock hai, I'm getting it at 300 rupees. But the moment you make that transaction, you are into a soup. Zerodha will make money because Zerodha makes money per transaction, right? But eventually, the investor loses money. So they've got a feature called nudge. Every time something like a stock split happens and investors try and buy that particular stock, there's a nudge which comes up and says, this company has recently gone through a stock split, so you should educate yourself before buying the stock. And in most cases, after reading that, people don't buy the stock. Similarly, if there is a lot of telegram flooding that is happening for a particular stock, Zerodha has an intelligence team. They don't make money out of it. They have an intelligence team. They tell their investors that this stock is being heavily marketed on telegram groups, so you should reconsider buying the stock. And here's some information to educate yourself. After that, you may choose to or not choose to buy that stock. Now, these are features. Back in the day, when Zerodha introduced these features, other companies did not take this approach. Why? Because they would lose money. Because every user is going to give you some money. That's obviously very less. But then once that compounds to 1 million users, that's a lot of money. And considering the fact that their competitors were investing heavily into IPL ads and several other things, I said that you are doing a disservice to your potential customers by not marketing these products, because if you market these products, people will come to Zerodha. Once they come to Zerodha, they can actually save some money. So Nikhil said, yeah, that's actually a good thing. It's just that no marketing has been stuck with us. So now we have this reluctance to market our products. And the problem that I had with that socialist comment saying that, oh, please don't engage in paid marketing, bro, the same thing happened with us as well. We were just about to do a sponsored deal. We have a very strict due diligence procedure. Back then, it was not that strict, but we still did as much as we can. But now our due diligence process is very strict. We think 100 times before endorsing any product. In fact, even before we call any guest, we do a lot of due diligence before we call any guest. In fact, we say no to 1 crore worth of deals per month, by the way. So when we do that, what we've understood is that in spite of doing all of this, when you endorse a particular brand, that one random subscriber doesn't agree with, or that one random subscriber has had a bad experience with, they would just put out a lot of hate, which then creates a ripple effect. So I always wanted to tell subscribers that A, just because we're endorsing a product doesn't mean 100% of the subscribers will have a great experience. B, endorsement is not a bad thing. False endorsement is a bad thing. So understand the lines properly, because in India, like I said, socialistic approach ye hai ki anything that has been done to make money is a bad thing. That's not how it works. There is capitalism, there is crony capitalism, and there is conscious capitalism. In fact, if you do the right thing and then you make money, that person should be making the maximum amount of money, because that way the world will be a better place. Like Zerodha today makes about 2,000 odd crores in profits. The world is a better place because of them. Because if you look at any great company in the D2C category, starting from Whole Truth to all of the brands, Zerodha has an investment and they all have this license to do the right thing, even if it means slowing down of revenue, because Zerodha calls itself, Rainmatter calls itself a perennial investor. We'll stick with you forever, even if it means defying the odds of investment. Which is where, my counter argument came in, that if you're so good, you should market the hell out of your products.
Yeah, so, as you said, at times it's tricky because, you stuck in your own thoughts that I was not doing this, so generally I should not. Second is, in your own example, when you said, one customer or subscriber felt offended and all, but majority still agrees with you and they can see the honesty in you, right? Which is more important. You cannot be loved by 100% people. There would be some exceptions and all. And see, the third part is, while you would want to do the right marketing, you also need to figure out people who are aligned with your values and things. So, say there's a content creator and the person do 10 endorsement. Out of those 10, 8 are false endorsements. While you are right and you're saying all the good or bad about it, the minute this person doing the endorsement, right, people will also put you in the same bucket in which the other 8 are. And for them, it is very difficult to understand that this out of those 10 is legit, 8 other are not. So associating yourself with particular segment, you always feel it can be challenging. And if you're doing, say, content partnership, you have to do it in hundreds and thousands. We still do some, as I said. So we work with some dermats and we do a lot of educational content. We also work with a PR firm and they curatively shortlist some journalists who get our product without a mandate to write anything about us. If they like, they'll write about it. If they don't, they'll mention that I don't like anything about it, right? So we do it in bits and pieces. But then you have to work a lot in terms of having the voice and how closely we can work with the customers. That, can I create lot of UGC so that whatever noise someone is creating by doing a lot of paid conversation or paid content, can I have the same through customers? And that only happen if I'm able to give lot to them. So we always stick in creating a lot of educational part. We even repost some of the success stories that people share with us by even tagging them very selectively. All the faces that you see on our site, on our page are real customers. They are not models, right? And we even give credit that, hey, this is a person. So you can go in and see. This person will have 200 followers. It's not a content creator or a celebrity. So if you continue to do the right thing, say eventually people figure out. And that trust is very difficult to buy overnight. And again, the compounding of that in 5, 7, 10 years is massive.
Yeah. Every time somebody, in fact, we often keep having this debate over here about ethics and, marketing ethics, because you're being ethical, but you need to tell people today that, oh, you know what, guys, we're ethical. So, please consider us to be a little different than the other people that you are comparing us with. So, when it comes to people eventually figuring out, the problem that I often have and the question that I often ask myself is, what if that eventually is 50 years? Because if you look at some of the most successful brands, I'll not name them, but you will understand. Like you said, they're all based on marketing facade. Like some of the soft drink brands that we have in the market today are based on marketing facade. And they've been marketed as the source of several superstars' energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, right?
I know.
Mohit, the one thing that I want to touch upon, and then we'll move on to skincare and we'll go deeper into it, is about influencers. There's a D2C wave that's going on, and even large companies have started to use creators and influencers to promote their product. Now, as a brand, I want to understand, how do you think? And to a large extent, you've already told me that if you find an influencer to be authentic, you would engage with them. But my question is, how do you gauge authenticity? Because if a creator has about 500 posts, you can't have an idea about all the brands that they're endorsing. You can't have an idea about the reasoning behind their endorsement. Sometimes it might be authentic, but you might just disagree with them. So it's quite subjective, right? So when you give a brief to your team about choosing creators, what exactly are the attributes that you ask them to look for? And B, how do they execute it?
So you can't look at all 500, but you can very easily look at last 5 or 10.
Okay.
And that will give you a good flavor about areas they are talking about. And does that align with your brand idea, philosophy or not, right? And for every campaign also, you need to have a very clear guideline or a mandate or something that you want to achieve. Do you need a product endorsement, or do you need someone to create education content? Basis that customers can make an informed decision. See, as a brand, we always over-index on education. And if I know the person has depth on a particular subject, and they can create some content which can be relevant for people, because the way maybe we are creating content is not easy for everyone to understand, and adding your personal flavors and own examples can make it easier for users, right? So that is how we always look at it. But it can vary depending on, one, your brand goal, and also your overall brand personality.
Got it. So let's talk about Minimalist. Let's talk about one of your early brand goals. Your early brand goals would be education. So I'm assuming you would stick with dermats and not fashion creators.
Correct.
You would get dermats to use scientific persuasion to talk about your product.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, both of them put together. And then you would put that message out. But now let's say you want to put out a mass outburst. And that's where you'll have to use fashion creators. How do you gauge a fashion creator's authenticity?
See, if you think your first part is done, where awareness is there in people, and now you just need endorsement or certain content, which is large number of people are able to consume in a very simpler word, right? And again, I said, see, if you're able to see last few posts, if you think in those cases, any endorsement the person has done still has some honesty to it, and you can gauge honesty basis, I'm sharing good or bad, both about it, right? And I have an opinion, and not every other post that I do is just a paid partnership. So some of those smaller things you can see. And again, I will not say those are must have. It need to align with your own personal views also. It need to align with your own brand views also.
So organic versus inorganic content.
Yeah.
Less paid marketing and more organic content. So if you see 10 posts, if 2 are paid posts and 8 are organic, that's a green flag for you.
Correct. See, as a brand, actually we don't do paid partnership even now. So even now, we only do UGC. Even though we know we can spend budget, but we don't do it. Some stories that we started doing now, because again, how can we reach out to larger users, you said. We do testimonials. So we actually invite customers to our studio, ask them to share their honest journey with the brand, how they discovered, which product they're using, any learnings that others can use, and post those on our YouTube and then promote those. So there are ways in which you can figure out what works for you and what is right for you. We have always been organic, not on inorganic. But someone looking at inorganic, I think these are certain traits that you can follow.
So, Mohit, in 2020 was a strange year because it was one of the gold rush years of the Indian startup ecosystem where every Tom, Dick and Harry was getting millions of dollars in funding. But the problem with authenticity is that it cannot be solved with funding. And you cannot gain success because of funding by sticking to authenticity. Authenticity by nature is slow. It will result into compounding, but then it takes time. But during that time, since you are not the only skincare brand in the market, how did you manage to stay authentic? And what are the challenges that you faced? Because if I were to be your competitor, and I know that Mohit is not going to engage with fashion creators, I will go out there in the market, even though you have a better product than mine, I would go out there and put my message out there and become a better known product. And as we all know, the brutal truth of the startup ecosystem is that best products don't win in the market. The best known products win in the market. Did you face this challenge? And if yes, how did you encounter it?
See, I think as I said, we started with the category which was very differentiated. So all the large companies are focusing on certain trends, which were, say, either natural and all those stories. We stick to the ingredient. We stick to a format, which was serum, which was not very crowded, right? So that at least to good 6-7 months gave us some space to breathe. Competition catch up when they know there's a success story. Till then, no one even care what this brand is, right? And when they know their success stories, by then you have a 6-month head start. And you have a community which know your brand. So I think the first big aspect whenever someone is starting up, start in a segment which is less crowded.
Blue ocean.
Yeah. And start with a differentiation, which is not like, hey, I'm 10% better. I always say internally, we need to be like 10 times better. If you cannot stand out in both, that, my outcome is significantly better than the other solutions that you have in the market, and then I'm starting in a certain category which are not very crowded. People care, they listen, they notice. And that basically can give you the initial push that you need, which money cannot buy.
So in short, you're saying results speak. That's it.
Yeah, so results will come. But again, I said, results for us was in a category which was lesser crowded. So it was not very competitive. So while larger brands were fighting in certain spaces, we were in a very opposite space. So everyone was saying that, hey, I'll go with natural. And we were saying, oh, I have chemicals, I have acids. People saying my product contain, sensorial part, good fragrances and all those things. We said all our product are without fragrance, right? You have beautiful packaging and we have like boring, plain black and white. That people never knew can be a playbook to create a good brand or big brand. So it was a very unique playbook that we followed. No one else was doing anything in that. By the time people felt, oh, this can be very interesting, this is becoming big and this can be a good trend, we had 6 months. Some startup after that started following up, but even large companies can't create anything in 6 months. They will need maybe in a year or 2 years. 2 years later, if you're not able to pull it off, then something is wrong with your execution. So I think initial decision that we took helped us a lot.
Did you go to South Korea to do your market research?
We did.
And what did you find out?
We did that very late.
Okay.
So
Very late?
I was in Korea just last year.
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
Yeah. See, again, when I said the initial thesis was always about following some ingredient and practices which are well known and clinically proven.
Oh, so you don't have to go to South Korea to understand.
I don't have to create a trend, as I said. That today, say, snail mucin something is popular. But we always see that, okay, is there enough data for it? And what is the end goal of rating a product? And that is what we work, right? So if I have to work on, say, aging, what are the most potent solution for aging today? then the answer would be, say, retinol, and now molecules like retinal. Do I have to solve aging, or do I have to give, say, a snail mucin? If your choices are very clear that which brand you are creating, I think the answer also become very clear.
Very interesting. In fact, two stories that I actually remember are, be under the hood until the giants discover that there is an opportunity. The founder of Viva Sauce, he built a 1,000 crore company, bro. And he was like, I just hope nobody figures this out. And then Forbes came and did a story on him, and everybody figured out that there is a huge market opportunity, which is quite interesting. In fact, tell me something. Today, if an entrepreneur wants to get into skincare, which expo in South Korea should entrepreneurs visit to understand what's going to happen in the skincare industry in India 5 years down the line?
See, there are two expos, and these expos happen in different part of the world. One is in cosmetic, second is Cosmoprof. So this is the one where lot of suppliers will come with new molecules, discoveries, and certain ingredient. So this is mostly for your procurement, supplier, labs and all. Cosmoprof is a event where you'll have your ODMs and these partner.
What do you mean by ODM?
So there are two type of companies, right? One who create their own product and they have their own manufacturing, like how we work. So we have our own labs, we have our R&D. So we look at these, solutions, we buy ingredient, we create our own product. Then on other side, there are third party manufacturers, and they do a lot of research. They have their in-house team, and they also do a lot of end-to-end manufacturing and all.
Which is white labeling?
Which is white labeling. And you will find a lot of these people also in event like Cosmoprof, right? So both are relevant. One is largely on the scientific part of it, ingredient, molecules and all. I think we visit those events more often because that align with our overall product philosophy and how we create product. Second is these Cosmoprof kind of event where you have OBMs, ODMs and all. And there actually you can see certain trends. So if there are 100 people and you can see that 3 or 4 solutions everyone is selling, you can clearly see that, oh, this probably will become popular, right? You can just get some vibes of it. And some of those initial hints can be important for you to understand, will that trend be relevant in India or not? But if you just marry that with some data and see whether those ingredient and overall formulation make sense or not, it can be important. Rather than plainly buying a marketing story, you have to apply some of your own work on that.
Did you outsource your manufacturing or did you do it in-house?
We do it in-house.
But why not outsource manufacturing? Because if you can have R&D in-house, then you have control over the formulation. And if you outsource manufacturing, you don't have the headache of high capex and maintenance. And in India, setting up a manufacturing plant is a big headache. So why not take the convenient route of keeping R&D in-house and keep manufacturing outsourced?
There are two challenges. One, see, just like any startup, when we also started, we never had the volumes with us that I can go to a big manufacturer and can get my product. I need, say, 1,000 bottles, 5,000 bottles and all. Bigger companies won't work for us. And whosoever will work, probably their infrastructure will not be as good as what I require. So quality to great, manner will be questionable. Second, if you become bigger and later you want to outsource your manufacturing, you are sharing the entire formulation with a third party. And you know what exactly I would want in my product. So you're not able to protect your IP.
Can't you have like a legal clause that can protect you from that?
There's ways in which you can manage that part. And it's very easy, right? So we always feel that, if we are investing so much into R&D and creating our own IP, we would want to protect that.
Got it. But tell me something. You mentioned that all the ingredients are pretty basic. You can use Google search to find them out. And now you're telling me that the formulation is very, very important. So is it a secret or is it general knowledge?
So the general knowledge is the ingredient and the percentage. and we even disclose that very transparently. So I'll give you example of, say, vitamin C, right? Now, there are multiple forms of vitamin C also, from, ethyl ascorbic to other variants. And you need to see in terms of purity of that and stability of that. And then again, the R&D will come into play. So even if you're disclosing it, that which form of vitamin C I'm using, next is where you're sourcing. So there are multiple vendors, and basis their material, there are different specifications also. Like, we publicly disclose, I can share, like we buy niacinamide from a company in Netherlands. It's called Lonza, right? And in niacinamide, you have impurities which create irritation. We tested a lot of suppliers from other countries also. Their impurity content was slightly higher. This company has the lowest impurity content, while their RM is 4 times expensive, but we are okay with it because of this particular part. So then finding the right supply is also very important. The last part of it, say I'm creating this niacinamide with 10% concentration, right? End of the day, the objective is not to give niacinamide in 10%. Objective is to ensure it actually deliver the result that you would want it to, right? The kind of solvents you're using so that it penetrate in your skin and work on the receptor, that is very important part. So that 90% people don't know, right? So say if I mix niacinamide and water, apply on my skin, it will just stay on top of my skin. It won't do what it is supposed to do.
It will not seep in, you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So which solvent I'm using, how I'm mixing the product. We even coat a niacinamide with certain solvent to ensure better bioavailability. So sometimes these words become more marketing work that, hey, we have bioavailable product and all. But the science behind that is slightly more deeper. Then which secondary technology we are using along with it. What kind of clinical studies we have done with it. So honestly, for even one particular serum, where we know the form factor, we have created 20, 30 different products. Whenever we launch a new one, it still take anywhere between 12 to 24 months. And protecting that is very important because that is anyways the only edge you have with someone else.
Got it. So in the skincare domain, the moat is IP.
In our case, we always wanted that to be a moat. See, there can be still some companies who can start with marketing first approach and their mode can be better marketing. You need to figure out which game you would want to play, which you think you can win.
So sustainable moat you're saying is IP.
I always feel it's IP.
Got it. Mohit, what exactly is the difference in behavior that you've seen between men and women with skincare? Because I'll tell you what my limited data says. I don't want to put in a lot of efforts into skincare. I'll just get the first lotion that I get. Now, whether that's Dove or Cetaphil, or if it's white, if it's smooth, that's enough for me. I will apply. If it's fragrant, it's even better for me. In fact, recently I was told that it's actually a bad thing. I still don't know why, but that's the maximum I knew about skincare until very recently. So I would just take the first thing that I get, apply and leave. But if you look at my wife, she will first start with face wash, then she will apply vitamin C, then she will apply moisturizer, then she will apply sunscreen, and then she will start applying a concealer, and then it ends with क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Fixer. Then it ends with a fixer. And then there is also a reverse routine that I discovered, that if you have to now wash your face, you can't just wash your face apparently. You have to then use a makeup remover. और वो छोटा सा पैकेट आता है, टिश्यू पेपर ही दिखता है मुझे वो तो. मैं तो कोई भी रैंडम सा वेट टिश्यू रहेगा तो मैं उससे वाइप कर लेता था. But apparently that is dangerous because it consists of certain ingredients. I'm sure even she doesn't know about it, but she's told that it is dangerous. And there is a makeup remover that comes in, and you're supposed to apply that, and then you can get rid of all the bad ingredients from your skin. And then a few days ago, when I was at my friend's place, Apurva's place, she told me that there is a method called double cleansing. So कुछ तो होता है ना, तो 2 बार मुंह धोना पड़ेगा, पहले इससे धो लो और बाद में उससे धो लो. So 2 questions. Where does it end? Where does it end? ये कितना, पहले मेरे को पता चला कि ठीक है चलो फेस वॉश करना है, फेस वॉश कर लिया, मॉइस्चराइजर लगा लिया, विटामिन सी लगा, ये तो चलते जा रहा है भाई. तो ये कंज्यूमरिज्म है कि is there a real problem that we are solving?
Yeah. My answer to this would be, don't fix what is not broken. So if you don't have any skin concerns and challenges, why you need to reinvent? What is working for you, even if those 2 steps, which is say cleansing and a moisturizer, that's okay. Just that someone is following 5 steps, you don't have to mindlessly follow those 5 steps. So I think people need to be mindful what is right for them. And if someone is following 5, 7, 10 steps, there's no need for that. Right? And I think the last step, which I think is very important, is sunscreen. So what do you call it? Prevention is better than cure. So if you're able to prevent a lot of solutions, you don't need at later stages. Right? I think these two I'll say are important. Anything in between that you apply, which is any serum or any other product, do only if you think your skin need that solution. Right? So say if you don't have concerns of pigmentation and all, you don't need to follow a lot of pigmentation product. If you don't think, you have dark spots and all, sometime, following vitamin C for brightening and all, if that is not a desired goal that you have, there's no need for it. Right? Keep it simple. If you're new, just start with maybe beyond these 2 products, as I said, cleansing and moisturizer, or maybe sunscreen. Just start with maybe adding 1 product at a time. Again, we see a lot of customers who sometimes come and say that, hey, I would want to buy 5 products and all. And this is not a sprint that tomorrow I'll apply all the product, my problems will go away. It's more of a marathon. It's more of a discipline, right? Just start adding 1 product, see what it does. If after that you feel there's a need for 1 more, mindfully add 1 more.
Speaking of results and discipline, I've seen that the patience level in men is very less when it comes to results with skincare. Whereas with women, it's infinite. I mean, half of the women don't even have the problems that they're trying to solve for. And that's the case with several other things, one of them being skincare, where they would just keep on following the skincare routine until, in fact, forever. But when it comes to men, if we see a 3% difference on our face by applying 3 different products, after a certain point, we would give up because we are not great observers of change on our face. Women are very sharp observers of what's happening to their face. We are not very sharp observers. At the same time, we don't have the patience to follow that routine and then expect something to happen and then see that happen and then decide on, okay, are we going to keep using these products or are we supposed to add 1 more or subtract 1 more? So, first of all, let's talk about the composition of your customers. How many of them are, what percentage of your customers are men and what percentage of your customers are women?
So before that, I know where you're coming at, so I'll not generalize.
Are 100% generalized, bro?
No. So you will find both the kind of, behaviors in both genders.
Will you find them in equal proportions?
Again, we have not quantified that, so I can't answer whether that is like 50-50 in both or certain percentage in both. But you'll still find again, so given you have asked this question, so I don't want to start with generalizing it.
For everything else, I'll give you data, guys, but for this, it's just my bias. So
same with me also. Yeah. In terms of our customer split, 70% would be women, 30% now for us is also men. Because as a brand, we always stayed gender neutral, which actually what skincare is. So I think all those skincare claim that you see for men, for women and all those things, again, are just marketing stories and all. It doesn't work very differently. Our needs are different. So the skin type and properties in men are slightly different than women. So we have a slightly thicker skin compared to women. So, our hydration level, our aging and all are slightly different. But say, if someone is looking for a solution for aging, like say retinol are the one which work for both. End of the day, you're buying it. Even if you'll see men's skincare for aging, turn the bottle, see the label, it will have the same ingredient that will have for the women also.
Correct. But going by data, what is the difference in behavior that you've seen between men and women when it comes to skincare? And how do you address that as a brand? Because your messaging has to be different. Your perceived results have to be different. And your story has to be different. So being a gender neutral brand, addressing both men and women for something like skincare, where both these customers have vastly different behaviors. Let's talk about the difference in behavior. And then let's talk about how do you address the challenge that comes with it. So what's the difference in behavior that you've noticed from your data?
I think there has been anyways a taboo associated with skincare, in specific men, right? And one, we were not very open in talking to others that, hey, I have a skincare. And, you would have seen a lot of campaigns of other brands, mocking men using a skincare and all. So that was always the case, which is changing. People are talking about it. And if, sitting here, I'll say, hey, I have a skincare, you'll not judge me, right? So that is changing. Second is, of course, the steps in men are lesser compared to women. And a lot of that are also more functional, right? And then third is the needs are also a little different. As I said, that, see the requirement of certain product in women because of a lot of factors are, again, very different between men.
Can you say this again? What is very different between men and women?
Like I said, our skin textures and thickness are different between men and women. So, say women will have thinner skin, because of which you'll start to see some of the aging signs maybe a little early compared to men, right? So maybe because of that, their need for certain product would be slightly earlier compared to men, right? So there are some of those things. See, how we communicate, when I say, is always more about a product properties and an outcome you can expect from a product. We never sell that, say for a woman, these are the 10, 15 products you should buy, or for a man, hey, buy just these 3, right? Say for a cleanser, if you have, say, sensitive skin, this is what we have. Or say if you're oily, we have a product. That is relevant for both. Now, say as a man, if you have a need for oily or acne prone skin, you will be able to relate to that communication, you will buy. And even if you're a woman, you'll be able to relate to it because it is more factual. Basis that you can see that, okay, now beyond this cleanser, I'm now looking for a moisturizer. Can I figure out something from your portfolio again very easily, because everything is more data driven and functional. So we never faced that challenge because we never promoted ourselves very heavily as a women, or promoted maybe certain steps, certain routines which are different for both.
Got it. So you are more problem oriented rather than gender oriented. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And regardless of whether this person is a man or a woman,
yeah,
if they have a problem, they can come to Minimalist.
Correct.
Was that your communication strategy?
Exactly.
Very, very functional.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I were to summarize what you said that skin types are different, results expected are different, and while amongst men it is largely a taboo, amongst women it's a flex. So it's easier to sell it to a woman as compared to a man. And like you mentioned that because you're gender neutral, you focus solely on functionality. But the one question that I often had is, when you can increase your TAM by being gender neutral, why do brands stick with, oh, we are for women and we are for men? Why do they stick to one particular category? Because when they do that, they're practically shrinking their TAM, right?
One, you're able to create a niche in a growing segment. So tomorrow we say that, hey, we have now a brand which is Minimalist Men, created only for men. We can have a bigger pie of men from that particular brand because a lot of customers will feel, oh, this is more relevant for me. On a gender neutral, I still have to educate you that, hey, skin is same. It's no different, right? Sometime if you're not aware, you'll go to a shelf, you will see 5 products. One is minimalist, then next to it, you'll see a brand ABC for men. You will most likely feel that is more relevant for me. So in a long run, we always feel, because people are becoming more aware, more knowledgeable, doing right thing will help and will win. But sometime again, we have a large set of users from top to the bottom of the pyramid, depending on which segment you're also going after. The bottom is also pretty large, and that will take like decades, as you rightly mentioned, before they understand what they have been buying is just a marketing story.
Got it. So you're saying that resonance is a major factor.
Yeah.
If a brand says that I'm only for women, they strike a better chord with women as compared to a brand that says I am both for men and women. But that makes your job even more difficult. Then why not start with women and then introduce minimalist men? Because you know that both products are the same. You can tell the customers that both products are the same. It's just the look and feel of both the products are completely different. Wouldn't this be an easier way to penetrate the market? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
See, one, if you would have started with, say, skincare for women, and then tomorrow I'm also launching something for men, I'm creating a lot of content that, hey, why this is for women. And again, if going back on the principles and the values, see, every decision that we take always goes through these two filters: clinical proven, transparent. If this is not transparent, this is not honest, and I'm lying about certain thing just because it suit my proposition, that is wrong. And we felt we don't want to do that.
As much as I appreciate that, there's also an easier way out. You don't have to specifically say that this is only for women. You just need to have women ambassadors endorsing your brand, and people will assume that this is for women. You can use branding and design language to strike a better chord with women without saying that this is only for women, right? And same is the case with men as well. But then I'm talking about this from a business standpoint, because you entered a market which was extremely challenging. And when you have so many challenges, in fact, you started with zero investment, eventually you raised money, right? So, speaking about it from a market viability standpoint, customer desirability standpoint, it is easier to start with one category and then extend into the other without actually putting out something misleading. For example, if I have women ambassadors who endorse my brand, I don't have to say that this product is only for women. Automatically, because thinking fast and slow, Daniel Kahneman, system 1, system 2, the monkey brain is going to assume that this is meant only for women. And they'll buy that product. You could have struck a better chord with women in a much easier manner. And that could have got you inside the market.
See, anyways, if you look at the overall industry split, and I really don't have the data, but I'm sure 65 to 70% of the consumers in skincare is anyways women.
Correct.
Right? And initially also all our messaging image that you mentioned was largely towards women. So while we were not calling it a women or a men related brand, image was 70% women, maybe 25-30% men. And that is how we also positioned ourselves without explicitly calling it men or women. You gave example of two brand and you said, you're using Cetaphil. And I'm sure that is equally popular in both the genders, right? You don't see Cetaphil women and men. So even if brands take a gender neutral position, there's a way to attract both. You gave example of Dove, right? Again, a very, very iconic brand. Love it. They again are popular amongst both the genders. So that is also one way of building it. So they are actually again both the path. You need to figure out which path you would want to take. And again, my own personal experiences and learning. See, eventually it's not about all the right thing that you do. It's also about how many lesser wrong decision you have taken in the journey. Right? And every decision, which is calling it a women or men, using endorsement from content creator, doing something else, has a repercussion. And these are like either or kind of a thing, right? Whether you this or do this, you can't do both.
Mm-hmm. It is very surprising how long term you were thinking when you were not a big brand. It's quite interesting because when you're a very large brand, you tend to think long term because you're here in this game for the next 30 years. But when you're a very small brand, the natural instinct of an entrepreneur is to always survive and to get a foot at the door. But then somehow, brother, you are something
But actually,
else.
if you don't think for 10 years, see again, I'll not lie that, we have been thinking 30, 50 years, right? But if I don't even think for 10 years, I can't build a big brand.
That's a very big window though, 10 years.
Yeah.
Because, Naval Ravikant says something very, very interesting. He says that the greatest entrepreneurs are often the ones who don't ever want to exit their business. And every time they pick something, they always have a very clear reasoning about how this is going to play out in the next 10 years. And they just tend to do it instinctively, right? So for example, I told you about the Zerodha decision, right? To put nudge over there. And I've had this conversation with Nikhil and Nitin also. Why did you do this? He said, this is just beneficial. They never thought it to be a big deal because for them, this was beneficial and that's it. They never thought, we're losing out on revenue, because they said 10 years down the line, we don't want people to find out that there could have been a feature and we missed out on that. And this happened quite instinctively. A lot of them are not able to articulate that. But the way you're articulating everything, I'm able to understand that every single pillar of foundation that you've laid is a foundation that will reap benefits for the next 2 decades. Whether this is about being gender neutral, focusing on functionality, focusing on authenticity. Because you and I, we both know D2C brands that are today billion-dollar companies through paid partnerships which are not very authentic, right? But they've been able to do that because they choose the easier route. But then it's so difficult to choose the harder route. And somehow from this conversation, I'm able to make out that you somehow always choose to do things the harder way. My question is, what exactly is that driving factor which is consistently pushing you to do things the harder way?
Again, it might honestly look very hard initially. Eventually, it become very obvious to you.
See, eventually you have seen the result.
No, when I say eventually, I'm not saying 5 year, 10 year or so, right? Our journey has been only for 5 years. A lot of time when you think about how you take decisions, how to ask your team to take decision, right? You need to have certain processes or certain values on which teams are taking decision. And again, Minimalist started because of our own discomfort with the way brands have been selling their product. So it started with very clear philosophy. When I say that, hey, be like honest. And you can't be selectively honest. Then take every decision which is right for a customer. Because, I have been a customer and I was like pissed with the way I was treated. When it comes to my own brand, I can't sit on the fence and say, oh, this is suiting my particular agenda. I should do it. But then I'll say wrong things about 5 of the brand. If today I don't have trust in food, someone should fix it. There are some brands which are fixing it, right? But, if those brands also become very selective, that, okay, today that is suiting my agenda, will that be right for customers? No, right? And again, there are a lot of supporters who support those businesses just because they're honest.
But what I'm trying to figure out is what exactly happened in your life so profoundly that is pushing you to be so ethical. I'll give you my experience and you'll be able to tell me what happened in your case. In my case, it's very simple. I just don't have a good night's sleep if I do something even remotely wrong. So I just don't do it because I know for a fact that if I do it today, I'll keep thinking about it. Even if it is debatable, I just won't do it. So for me, it makes a huge difference that night. Similarly, when I asked Nitin the same question, he told me that, tomorrow if there is one random guy who pops up and says that, because of this feature of yours, I lost money, I don't want that story. So, the potential for being found guilty for something that is quite debatable is also something that Nitin avoids. Okay, you get what I'm saying, right? Even if it is remotely possible that because of one of Zerada's feature, an investor loses money and he comes and tells Nitin that, bro, I lost money because of you. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that on his record of deeds. Similarly, my question to you is, what exactly happened so profoundly in your life, which is pushing you to do things the hard way, even though you are in a market which has cutthroat competition?
Yeah. So there were two things, right? So one, see, again, that was largely related to our upbringing. So I was born in a very low income family. And, growing up around that time, there are certain things that your parents always tell you, right? And my father used to say always that, don't do anything wrong, right? And there's a karma, it'll come back and all. If you see some wrong thing happening around your family, neighborhood and all, he'll always say that don't worry, karma. So there's someone who is watching you, right? I don't know, So that, that is how we grew up. So that always stay in back of the mind. I think second is, see, at some point in time, you also think as a founder how your team should function, right? And I felt that, if we say that, oh, we have a value which is being transparent and honest, it can't be a value written on a wall somewhere.
Yeah.
And if they see it every day, that we come in a room, we decide everything which suit our agenda, and then tomorrow I'm doing a town hall and saying, hey, be honest and all those things, that is a BS.
You don't want to be a hypocrite.
You don't want to be a hypocrite. But the good thing is, if you start following some of those practices, the kind of impact it has on people, that is insanely positive. Like after our 1 year, we did like a company ENPS or something, right? And we had both the set of custom people. Some said, hey, I'm very happy. Some said, I'm completely unhappy.
Okay.
Because maybe I'm not happy with my manager, which is a usual thing. Maybe I think, your policies, perks, some of those things can be better. And there are always certain challenges which you need to fix. There was one question which we asked in that questionnaire that, do you feel proud to be part of Minimalist? The answer for that was 100%. Not a single person said no.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That was amazing. That was the moment I felt that, okay, we are creating something which we know we can be proud of. We were talking, giving examples of D2C. For D2C, being on marketplaces is very important. Now, for marketplaces, your rating reviews are very important. There's an entire industry. You can pay 20-30 rupees to get a 5-star review, right? Does it help? It does.
There's a category for this. It's called online reputation management. And when I heard about it, it was very strange and scary. Like tomorrow, I could be building a D2C brand and my competitor could flood my comment section.
Correct.
With absolutely terrible comments. And that could result into a loss for my company. Now, when you're going against funded competitors and they pour in that funding into spoiling your reputation, that's a disaster, right?
No, so see, you need to believe in two things. One, again, what you're doing on that. And like talking about the reviews and online management, we never purchase even single review ever. And every time the discussion used to happen with my own team that, hey, there's a competition product, they launch, they have 500 5-star exact ratings. We have 5. And in that, unfortunately, if 2 people don't like initially and they review, your rating is say 2.53. How to sell this product? You then just need to trust in the process that, hey, we have spent 2 years in this product. We have done a lot of trials. We know eventually large number of people will like it. Give it time. It'll happen. And one day it'll happen. If it does not,
okay,
it actually is more important because you know what is not working. Just go and fix it. One day, your ratings will show what the product is. It actually is a true mirror to your own R&D team also, to your own self also in terms of how good or bad your product are. Right? Second is when you say, competition will flood your comment sections and all. We have seen so many examples. Where
Really?
I say, no, something else, I'll tell you, right? Where I say maybe a content creator, just because we were not endorsing or paying, bashed our product against a competition. And then I can go and see they will have maybe 100, 500 comment. Majority will say this is working for me. And sometimes people say, oh, we are sending bots, we are sending our own people to write comment. We never did that. But with time you start to see that, again, if you have large number of people who know what you are doing, who believe in what you have been in this entire process, and if your product work, they will support you. So if there are 10 bad people, there are 90 good people also. You need to just trust on 90 and just continue to do it. Right?
Very interesting. But tell me something, skincare as a category plays out very strangely when it comes to Amazon reviews.
Yeah.
Why? Because Amazon asks you for a review after you get the product.
Yeah.
But the person who is receiving this product has to use your product for at least 15 to 30 days to be able to give a data-backed review. So how is Amazon review relevant for you? How can I gauge the relevance or quality of your product by looking at Amazon review? Because even if somebody is giving you a 1-star, उसने 15 दिन बाद तो आपको review नहीं दिया है. They received the product, they used it once, and they're giving you a review the next day. So how does Amazon review make sense for your category?
No, on the paid one or the organic one you're talking
Organic one, I'm saying.
Organic.
See,
the
once you receive the
organic-
product, Amazon asks you for
yeah.
a review.
So, as a brand, you can trigger your email for review request basis what you think is the right time for your product. Like in our case, we send email to customer after 21, 28 days.
And that gets reflected on Amazon?
Yeah. So after 21 days, you will get an email that, hey, you purchase this product, give a review. So as a brand, you can actually configure that. I know my product is not an instant gratification because I'm solving some concerns. So not sending after 2 days and sending after 21 was more appropriate for me. So that is how you can just all plan.
Got it. Mohit, now I want to go deeper into how to build a skincare brand. Firstly, you spoke about manufacturing. Tell me, how much does it cost to set up a manufacturing plant if you want to manufacture skincare products?
So, see, we started without a lot of capital and we were bootstrapped, right?
For how long?
1.5, 2 year. Yeah. So we created a very, very basic infrastructure. That level of infrastructure, you can start anywhere between 25 to 30 lakh.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how we manage it, large part of that was lease. So we never invested in land. We never invested in building. You can find that in lease. The only thing that matter is then your mixers and your filling equipment, right? So prioritize depending on how much money you would want to invest into those equipment which you think are very, very critical.
Like mixers and?
See, again, your mixers are the most important part of it, which is the heart, right? Even if you are doing and then filling, even if you're doing, say, packing manually by, say, putting bottles into the cartons and all and doing all those manually, initially it's okay because you don't have volumes, right? You don't need, say, auto packing machines and all. You don't need all the infrastructure. A lot of other thing also can be very manual initially. So you can just break it down into which processes with the right people you can run manually by still owning the quality, and which processes you need to invest because that defines where the product is. Once you cross your first level and you'd want to upgrade, then you can put maybe some more money. So after when Minimalist launch, I said, was in October 2020. Till then, we were running with this small setup of 30-50 lakh. The second plant when we created was after almost a year, when we started getting closer to 100 crore of revenue. We were doing some 7 or 8 CR a month.
Wow.
Then we invested around 18-20 crore.
18-20 crores.
Yeah.
This was large scale.
This was large scale because that was then created to have us, give us some 500 crore of revenue run rate, where we still operate.
Great. So you found the gap in the market to be functional skincare products. You designed and manufactured functional skincare products like face serum, and how many products did you initially start with?
Face serum, 6 product.
6 products.
Yeah.
Can you name those products if it's not
So
too
it
long?
was, it was salicylic acid, vitamin C, niacinamide, retinol, and I think 5th would be tranexamic acid, if I'm not wrong.
Okay. These 6 products were solving for which of the top 3 problems of skincare?
All these were distinct. So for every unique problem, we just created one then. So like salicylic was for acne. So if you're dealing with acne, just use that product. That will be helpful. Retinol was for like aging. Vitamin C is for brightening. Niacinamide is for oily skin. Tranexamic is for pigmentation. So we just found 5 or 6 unique needs. Each of these needs was just solved through one particular product.
Apart from that content creator influx that you got, how did you then educate your customers and go ahead, apart from your own content too? Because content doesn't scale instantly, right? You went from 0 to 100 crores in about 8 months, if I'm not wrong. So when did that hockey stick growth happen?
See, for us, it was a very unique story. So like every month, we were adding 1 crore in revenue. So like first month was 1 CR run rate, then 2, then 3, then 4. It never became like, we stayed on 1 and then one day it shot up, right? Though very mindfully, we were adding channels in it. So first 3 months, we knew this was primarily D2C without any other channel. After 3 months, when we had a lot of comfort that people are liking the product, there's a good repeat and retention. And we also understand, basis all the queries, email, DMs what we're getting, what challenges they have in finding the right product also. Because on my own site, I can offer a lot of support, navigating it and answering questions. I can't do it on a marketplace. After 3, when we understood, we then launched on Amazon. And then we stayed with Amazon for 3 more months. Once we had some comfort that, okay, whatever information we are creating and putting all those text, that is helping people find the right product. And whatever success we saw in terms of conversions, retentions and all, some of that we can initially see. Because 3 months again is a very short period of time. And whether in those segments our product are becoming popular or not. After that, then we added Nykaa. So for the first 8 months, I think these were the three just channel. Focus was largely on our own content. And then we were working very closely with our customers because they were anyways the early movers and evangelists. Can we work with them to create a lot of UGC? So how to nurture that community, how to help them create that content, what can be some motivators for them? So like, if we see some stories, if we see certain post where they are talking about it, we will just go take their permission, see if we are allowed to repost it. And people are happy to do that, right? We don't used to edit anything. So whatever you have written, we'll clearly go and publish. That added a lot of trust in new users because I can see some authentic stories, right? That also gave a motivation to other that if I'll also create authentic, brand listen to me, right? And my content can also be part of their page. So some of those small things. So see, again, UGC is very interesting, but it is very challenging also. How you can ask people to create content for you.
I faced a lot of problem with that because we have a course called the Communication Masterclass. Bro, people have gotten promotion. They've gotten great jobs. And we're not talking about ordinary promotions or ordinary jobs. People have gone from 12 lakhs to 18 lakhs in package because of the Communication Masterclass. And this is the reason why I wanted to talk to you about motivators. How do I motivate people to give me a great testimonial? Because I'll tell you what is the challenge. Challenge is they've achieved this growth. They're very happy to share it with you. And that's when we ask, can you please create a video? Now, in most cases, they don't feel like the video is good enough. As a result, they refrain from sharing the video. Or sometimes they hesitate and then they share the video and they say, oh, you know what, please don't put it out because I don't look good in the video. So when you encounter problems like these, how do you solve these problems? What were your initial motivators? Not when you started publishing, but before you started doing this on a large scale, before you became a big brand, how did you motivate your customers to put out content?
I think you need to understand actually what is the value for a customer to create a content, right? And every time if I'm endorsing something, it has my credibility, right? And even if I'm talking a small group of 4 people who are around me, if I share something which has no social currency attached to it, it is a useless conversation, right? So say if today I'll say, oh, do you know ChatGPT, right? You'll not think highly of me because by now you already know about it. But say the day maybe Grok was introduced, or say now there's a new AI model which not too many people are aware about it. If I tell you some of those information, you will feel, oh, I know about this industry a lot more than you, and you'll have you'll think that maybe I'm an expert in this. And every group will have certain people who are expert in their own category. Some will have a lot of information about, say, investing. Some will have a lot of hands-on experience about, phones and all. I know what all latest tech and other thing are there. Some will have certain other interest. And they will share information which you think is always very insightful.
So you're saying that you have to give them something very interesting to share.
Exactly.
But if you were in my place and you had to do this for Communication Masterclass, communication is not something that's very new. And people don't want to share their salary jumps. Ki, bro, I went from 12 lakhs to 18 lakhs because they want to be private about it and it looks like bragging. And then they think they don't look good enough in front of the camera because obviously you'll be awkward because this is your first content that you're putting out, right? So in those cases, how would you solve this problem?
I think you can maybe look at the content, certain unique part of the content that others don't cover, which can be some interesting value add to the person who's listening. So if I say, hey, I've gone through this particular content class, which maybe talk about this one aspect, which is very interesting and engaging. And I found this example, which I just want to share.
Bro, that's exactly what we do. And in fact, the limited pieces of content that we've gotten are contents that people make because they wanted to complete the assignment. For example, we have an assignment where you have to speak in front of the camera for about 1 minute explaining a business strategy. People post that content. But then in that content, there is no communication masterclass. It's just content. So how do you plug communication masterclass in?
So say, always think like a customer. When was the last time you did an endorsement of a brand? And why?
This podcast is by
not an podcast with to your own friends.
Bro, I do it all the time because
you found something which is cool, a worthy sharing. worth sharing, right? So I think, in your own content, just figure out that these are certain parts which are very cool, which can be very interesting for a person sharing it. No, but even, just casually, like even if we watch a movie, yeah, I don't want to recommend a movie which I think probably you'll not like it because you will think, oh, I have a bad taste. I only want to recommend a movie which I think, oh, this is definitely good. And something you may not be even aware of. That, oh, I found something, a good documentary on Netflix, which is very cool, very insightful and all. I'll definitely tell you because I'll brag about it because that will build, again, it's a good social currency. If I tell you all the cool and new things, you will feel, oh, I'm smart, right? So can you build those levers into the product? If today someone will say, hey, I'm using a vitamin C, it has no smartness today, right? Because world has already moved from that to something very different today, right? What is that new thing that you are bringing? And can that be easily informed to people? And some of the initial customers would like to talk about it.
Great. So you're saying that you should find something brag-worthy.
Worthy of sharing, yeah.
Worthy of sharing. If it qualifies as brag-worthy, it's great because they'll anyways brag about it. Something worthy of sharing that is not conventional. That doesn't make it look like an endorsement, but a testimonial which is authentic, but is insightful enough for other people to find it interesting.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
in your case, what was that?
So in our case, actually, there were two things, right? So one was the entire ingredient and their concentration in the science, right? Like 2020, if you'll go and talk to people and ask them, hey, what niacinamide is, majority will say, I've never heard of this word, right? So for some, this was important. That was a time a lot of content was created, both by the brand, where we were doing it, by consumers, by even content creators also, without any paid endorsement. Because, their consumers are asking, hey, while of course you're doing this content, can you tell me what is niacinamide? Because I can see some brands are selling this product. So of course they will have to create content because their customers are asking for it. Their viewers are asking for it, right? So that was one. Second is on the result. So again, in our product, that was second hook. If I'm going through some challenges, and if I feel certain solution that I'm using for the market, and maybe I'm using 3 products, say one from us, and it is really helping, I would really want to share my story because I know someone else is also struggling in their life and it can be meaningful for them also. So both the thing helped initially for us.
So you're saying that social currency is what makes you go viral amongst peers. In fact, now that you're saying this, it's making a lot of sense to me because I read this book called Contagious. Have you read this book?
Yeah.
Contagious. Contagious speaks about this pineapple example. This fruit could be different, but then this book speaks about an example whereby an uncle cutting pineapple went viral on the internet. Okay, and this was way back when WhatsApp was not so prevalent. This video got about 30 million views. It was on every single website. Now, if I tell you this, does this make sense to you? That an uncle cutting pineapple is going viral on the internet and every single media house is publishing about this uncle and this video is everywhere. Does it make sense to you? No, right? But then the reason why it went viral was because the uncle taught the world how to cut a pineapple in 6 seconds. So it was a high utility product, right? Now it's making sense, right? How would you cut a pineapple in 6 seconds? So when people saw it, they wanted to share it out to the world saying, this is how you can cut pineapple in 6 seconds because they found it interesting. It's almost like uncles sharing WhatsApp forwards because they find the news to be very interesting.
See, again, because someone in my group will feel, oh, wow, this person knows more than me, or this is something that he always shares some cool things. So that is a social currency. You need to build those into the product.
In fact, this makes sense with our content as well. I see a lot of people who say, oh, you know what, bro, I watch your content. And I ask them, what do you do with this content? They tell me that your content makes us look smart in parties. So when we go to a party and somebody's talking about Make in India, I know why it's failing. I'll tell you why, along with stats. If somebody goes to a party and they have to answer the question, what's happening with ONDC? They would give people a very, very data-backed reply, which makes them look like a genius. And now people have started telling me that, I went to this party, I spoke about ONDC, and as it turns out, everybody had watched your video. So they said, "Arey bro, tu thinkschool se mat bol mere ko." In fact, we've heard stories where people have actually copy-pasted our entire business case study for their MBA assignment. And the teacher was like, dude, do you think you're the only one who's watching YouTube? So they get caught now, unfortunately. So what you're saying makes so much sense, man. So if you have to make something go viral organically, you have to make sure that it is brag worthy and it is worthy of a social currency, which will then prompt other people to share it. In your case, you actually turned your disadvantage into an advantage because you were producing products which are hard to pronounce, right? Let alone explain. But then because it was cool and it became social currency in the sense that it could benefit somebody else, people naturally tend to share it. And from what I can imagine, if there are two friends sitting over here, and Kunal Shah often says that if your product is great, two people sitting at the dinner table should be able to have a conversation about your product where one person tells the other person that this is a cool product that I found. So I'm imagining this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if I used a product of yours which is helping me get rid of acne, and I see a friend of mine who's also encountering the same problem, I would use this as social currency and recommend this product to him so that he gets results and eventually he'll have newfound respect for me. And that's how this scales. Does that make sense?
So it can happen in multiple manner. So one, of course, the person is using the same product, you can have a conversation. Or if you think the product can be relevant for this person also, I can say, hey, I started using a new product from this brand and this is what this brand sell and offer. If I know you are interested in this conversation, right? And you feel, oh, this is something cool and worthy of sharing. Or maybe if I know you're going through certain challenges and because of which you will find some benefits.
And you took this to social media using UGC, so it was word of mouth on steroids. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Did you go offline?
We started a lot later. So after 1.5, 2 years, that's when we started offline. So we had, honestly, a number in our mind that maybe once we'll get, say, 40, 50 retailers writing an email, asking for a product, that's when we'll feel maybe we are ready for it.
Oh, wow. Did you get those emails?
Yeah, we did.
Wonderful. Tell me something, Mohit. What I find very interesting about your business is that you started with 6 products. 6. Usually people say, start with 1. And they would never start with 6 unless there is a common ingredient or common set of ingredients. Did you have common set of ingredients for these 6 products, or were these 6 products completely different from each other?
No, so the subcategory was same because these are all face serum. Format was same. It was again all serum. Ingredient in each of these were different. The hero ingredient was different. Of course, the base ingredient of using water, certain solvents and all would be very largely similar also. But these, we started with the philosophy that, okay, we would want to target 4 or 5 larger problems that people have so that there's a larger relatability to it. See, even now, after almost 5 years, we have some 50 odd product in our portfolio. So we never use product as a growth hack that, will continue to generate more and more. We always felt that, if certain product solve those needs, it can be those, classic product that can stay in the market for 5-10 years. Till the time the tech is disrupted and I have to maybe, upgrade my own product.
Understood. Okay. Can you walk me through the unit economics of these products? I mean, if 6 products have vastly different unit economics, then we can talk about them. But then if they have similar unit economics, we can talk about them in general.
It was largely similar. The pricing may be different, but percentage-wise, it'll be very similar-ish.
Okay. Can you break this down for me?
So, I think MRP was closer to 600. Some would be maybe 549, some would 649. You can use 600 broadly for that. When we say COGS, we again made that change. We always want to spend more into the product. And we felt if we do that, we'll have to spend lesser in marketing.
Can you explain COGS in brief?
Yeah, so cost of goods sold. And in that, you include your making cost, which is both your raw material and packaging material. Also, it contains the basic overhead of factory, your workers and all. And then it also includes logistic so that you're able to get that good from a manufacturer to your own warehouse and all, right? I think these broadly things have been included. While a lot of company would be working on some 80-85% gross margin, we were happy to work at 70%.
So your COGS was 30?
30.
Okay. Yeah. So 600 rupees ka product hai, so it is. So if your product costed 600 rupees, then your COGS was 200.
180 to 200 we were putting into the product. And in that, a very small percentage was going into the packaging material, largely was into what is inside the packaging. So for that, we started just using, the pharma grade bottle, some basic paper packaging and all. So negligible percentage always went into the packaging.
How much would that be? Just in case?
Yeah, packaging would be less than 4-5%.
4-5%. Okay.
Yeah.
ठीक है.
Majority was into then the product itself, right? Then you'll have the next cost, which is your distribution cost. So there you'll have your marketplaces, their selling fees and all those things, right? Initially it was 26 for certain marketplaces. Blended now for us it comes to closer to 15 odd percent.
15 odd percent.
Yeah.
So it decreases
like,
with time.
Yeah. So like on D2C, I don't have a selling fee on my own platform, right? Then there are certain platforms or certain partners who buy outright and don't charge a fee.
Which is basically inventory model?
Inventory model. So like,
can you explain inventory model?
Yeah, so like in Amazon, I have to send my goods to Amazon warehouse. Whenever a customer buy, Amazon will ship it. So actually I'm just using their platform, payment gateway and warehousing and logistics services, right? When goods are sold to a customer, Amazon will pay that amount minus the fee, right? And that fee will take into consideration all those things, which is what we call as, which is fulfilled, which is what we call selling fee. Second model, when we say inventory, is a model in which someone will buy outright. So say in case of Nykaa will buy a product outright. So instead of say 100 rupee, which is MRP, Nykaa will pay 100 minus certain percentage. I'll sell it for that amount. And then there's no cost. Every cost of warehousing and all is being taken care by Nykaa. So it basically depends where in your P&L the cost has been impacted.
What would that threshold be in the P&L? Because if you have to go from marketplace model to an inventory model, you have to be a large brand. That's the notion that is out there in the market. But my question is, how large do you have to be?
No, I think actually that is not a case that you need to be a large brand for inventory. Some partners work on inventory model, and even at a smaller stage, they still onboard you on inventory. Your initial purchase orders can be for a lower value. With time, that percentage will increase. Both the models will have its own pros and cons, but that is how you just learn and grow with time, right?
Okay, because the way I'm looking at it is that if Nykaa is opting for an inventory model with you, they're taking a big risk by actually buying products upfront from you. Now, to be able to do that, they need to measure certain parameters to gauge if you are worthy of that or not. In that, you would have maybe repeat rates, your margins, and how many customers you have. So my question is, what would be those qualifying factors that enabled you to be an inventory model partner for Nykaa?
So again, see, Nykaa, till the time they don't have a data, and I'm just thinking how they would be planning their entire thing. In our case, they would have started with what kind of searches we are getting on their platform, right? So say every day, how many people are searching minimalist serums and all. Based on that, I can broadly estimate what kind of sale I can generate because these many search queries I have for your brand. Now I'll make maybe a first order on a very conservative side. So if I know there are 10,000 searches that happen in a month, probably 3,000-4,000 will at least convert. So even if I make an order of 3,000 product, safely I can assume in a month or so I'll be able to sell, right? If no, maybe in 2 months I'll be able to sell because the shelf life is 18-24 months. So there's a still long period, right? Now, say in the first month, you get a sale of maybe 3,000 sold in less than a month. Then second month, maybe they will start with 5,000 units, 6,000 units. Then they will eventually increase more to the point where they think that if they are comfortable holding 45 to 60 days of inventory, what is that number is. So that process can anywhere be between a month to 6 months.
Beautiful. Let's come back to your unit economics. 200 rupees COGS, 30 rupees packaging cost, assuming 5% of 600 rupees. 150 rupees, assuming 25% is your distribution fees. And then do you have any other cost attached?
No, so then your third large part would be on your marketing cost, which is performance, right? So whatever ads you're running on your own site or Amazon and all, there's a cost attached to it. That is the third largest cost. In our case, that has been closer to 25%.
25%.
Yeah. After that, you will have your people cost.
In your own, what was the people cost?
A large part of the work was being managed by me and Rahul, the co-founders. Then we roped in a lot of folks at a operations work. So we were largely involved into everything because again, I said, we were bootstrapped and we were not sure we can pay salaries or not. So we never want to hire till the time we have confirmation or maybe have confidence that I can at least pay you for 2 years, right? Few hiring that happened initially was largely into R&D only. That okay, whatever our own capital we have, even if we hire someone, we can pay them 2 years. We know we can survive. So people cost would be 4 or 5% because again, as a founders, we were not taking salaries.
Got it. Did you have any other cost attached?
Overheads would be negligible, and then we were just left with EBITDA. So I think first year we were somewhere around 10-15% EBITDA.
Can you tell me in terms of gross and net margins?
So gross was 70% because 30% was COGS, right?
Okay. And you were left eventually with net of what?
25-26% is taxes because we never had interest or any other thing. The plant was very small. As at 30-35 lakh we invested. So depreciation was also very limited. So after EBITDA was largely taxes and the profit after tax.
Got it. Understood. So would you recommend this to be a standard playbook to enter skincare initially? Because, when people look at a 70% gross, they assume that it's a cakewalk. But then 70% gross होने के बावजूद भी you're left with barely 10 to 12% net, right? And वो gross और net के बीच का जो difference है, that's where everything gets misleading. So my question is, if someone were to launch a skincare brand today, what should be a healthy margin that they should keep for gross so that they can consider it to be feasible to enter the market?
So I think the biggest piece in this, which is not controllable by a lot of people, is the marketing cost.
Is the marketing cost, okay?
Yeah. So you need to figure out again, can you control the marketing spend? Because everything else is controllable. It can be fixed. Even for a lot of large companies, marketing cost, even for public companies and all, right, it can be anywhere closer to 40%. And they have been in losses for a very long time. Even large scale D2C company will have anywhere between 35 to 40%, maybe more than that, right? So whatever gross margin you can shrink, if you're unable to manage marketing, that become a challenge. And how you can then break marketing also. So there are two things, right? The overall marketing spend and cost of new user acquisition, right? New user acquisition cost will continue to increase because platforms are becoming more competitive. More and more brands are jumping into it. So that very, very hardly will ever go down. How the total cost can remain lower is because of your returning and referrals. So again, if you're pouring more and more water into your bucket, but if the bucket is leaking, you'll continue to have to pour more. But if you're able to retain, if you think large number of customers are able to stay, and they also bring a lot of new customers, even at a higher marketing acquisition cost, you're able to control your overall marketing cost. So I guess that is the most important part where I would want people to focus on. Other thing, eventually you'll figure out.
Which then brings us back to the first thing that we spoke about, which is result.
Result and differentiation. Yeah. See, you may not have buying power initially, and you're paying a premium to a supplier for certain ingredient because someone else has more buying power. Because that cost is 30, even if you're paying say 5-6% or maybe 10% premium, eventually that will be maybe 2% more, right? Your team cost can be again manageable because you can do the heavy lifting. Your distribution cost largely will remain same. What is industry is, Amazon will ask you the same pay versus someone else also. If you're able to retain, get more references because initially you don't have a target that okay, tomorrow I would want to do 5 crore of monthly revenue. Start with what makes sense for you, right? Put only that much capital. And actually your marketing cost initially is much lower. It's never linear. Cost of adding a new customer with time only increases. So initially for us, it was not even 25%. It was much lower than that. So other part of your acquisition, which is retention and referral, that should kick in. So just look at that very closely And that only give a sign of PMF. Lot of time what I've seen is people confuse initial sale with PMF.
Yeah.
See, there's a thin line between sales and PMF. I create a product. There are so many type of customers. Something will appeal to someone, right? And by spending marketing amount, I will be able to get some initial customers also. That is how you make some initial sales, right? For a PMF, it's always important to look at some qualitative parameters attached around it, right? And how you can differentiate between those. How excited I was with the launch. So see, I try a lot of new products as a customer. For example, I see something, I purchase it, and I'm not very excited about it. Will I come back again? Maybe the answer is no. Does it justify the PMF? Maybe no. I got the first sale, but I don't think it's a PMF. But if you talk to the customer feel very happy that, oh, I was just waiting for it. Thanks so much for launching this product and all. You can gauge some of the conversation, right? Am I willing to refer to a friend of mine? If the answer again is yes, again, the TAM for that much larger. Will I be coming back and buying more from you? And if I can some of those sign, then again, kind of shows stickiness. So I think these 4 or 5 things initially can be hard to quantify, but you can measure by having a lot of conversation. So one, like I said, how excited I am with the launch, am I likely to refer, and am I likely to come back? And these 3 numbers we used to measure very, very closely.
How did he measure this? Like,
see, repeat is very easy.
Repeat is very easy.
Very easy. Referrals, to some extent easy. If you're able to give maybe a discount code or something. We never did that in our case because we felt that, people don't like referring product because you're getting 100 rupee off. It always feels there's an intent behind it, right? So how to do it? You can always talk to some customer and then try to extrapolate. So today, if I know I have 100 new customers, I'm talking to 20. Out of that, 6 are saying, oh, I came to this site because someone else referred. Maybe 30% are coming through referral. So you'll have to just extrapolate. Just keep doing it very regularly initially. And if you think that every time the number is very similar, it's then just a data which kind of makes sense.
And beyond a certain point, you can actually give it to a product owner who can actually measure this for you professionally. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm talking about year 1. That is a time founders do most of the work, right? Like, for the first 1 month, we were doing the entire customer service thing. Replying to email, talking to customers, replying everything, right? So I think those things, again, some are quantitative, some are, you have to extrapolate by those conversations, but there's a way you can figure out to measure for yourself.
Yeah. So it's excitement, referrals, and retention. I would also put in result over here. How many people got a result? Because that eventually will fuel referrals, right? Eventually result into retention. So excitement, referrals, retention, and result.
So yeah, you can say that. Say result, if people may say, hey, I like the product. If they're not coming back, you don't know how to measure that. If they're coming back referring, you can assume results are coming out of the product.
Yeah.
At times people are nicer. I will not say bad about a brand, someone. Say if a brand is calling me that, hey, you have been using a product. If I know I don't like the product, I will not be very critical about it. I will say, hey, it's good, right? But if I do not purchase the product again once I'm consumed the product, the answer of that, I should not judge it on that face value, right? So I think those parameters kind of quantify it.
So Mohit, if you were to understand the difference between a rockstar and a non-rockstar, I'm assuming that when you built your organization, you had several people whom you had to let go. And eventually, as a founder, you have a certain acumen to be able to identify rockstars and a non-rockstar. And I've realized that every founder has a different set of attributes that they check for. My question is, what are your attributes that will help you understand that this person is an A player and this person is a B player?
So I think, as you mentioned, you have to figure out what attributes are important for you, because people with those attributes will flourish. Others might not find it, great place to work. In our case, it was one culture, because again, we have been talking about values. So someone who we know can align with our values is a very, very important part. even if a rock star but does not align with the value, we'll always have those conflicts.
Culture as in what was taught to them at home.
Yeah, the culture of our brand, which is, say, transparency, honesty, and all those things, right? So you need to be culturally aligned with those. Even for our own team, when you say, hey, people come first, be more respectful, those are a very important thing for us. I don't want a rock star to be nasty with others, irrespective what he or she may be doing it, right? So those things we know are very important, right? So that is the first parameter, which we learn with time, that, finding people who align with some of those values which we find important in a rock star. Second is then ownership. We again felt that, we are not the type of people who would want to tell people that, hey, do these things. At some point in time, they need to take their own ownership. They need to take their own decision, right? It's very easy to put the problem in front of people and say, hey, these are the 5 problems. Let me know how this need to be solved. Or you can come that, hey, these are the 5 problems. For each of these are the things that I think we can do. The approach is very different. The one who can come with those approach, we know eventually do well in our system, right? The first may do better in some other places, but you have to figure out what works. And then third is, as I said, over-indexing on talent, then experience, because we always felt that, they have less to unlearn and always think from first principle because they are outsiders, just like us.
As in, you would get somebody supremely talented with less experience rather than getting somebody with a very vast experience and supremely talented, because from what you're saying, I am able to make out that you see somebody with a lot of experience with a person who might also have a lot of baggage.
Yeah, see, moldability is a very important part. That, can I come and absorb in your system, right? Work in your own ways. If you've seen too many things in your past career and all, you will feel this work and this does not. And sometimes people find it very challenging that, my own norms, if I say, hey, are wrong, and we are creating a different way of working. My playbook is very different. We don't do these things. Getting that commitment become challenging. And in a small team, you need to have high level of commitment.
Correct. So it's learning plus unlearning,
Yeah.
if I were to put it that way.
Unlearning first and then learning.
Unlearning first and then learning. Okay. Do you have any other pointers?
No, I think, honestly, these are certain things that we follow.
Got it. My next question to you is, if I were to put you in a room with a bunch of candidates and you were to check for these 3 attributes, culture, ownership, and unlearning, how do you gauge that with 3 questions?
So one question, actually not even 3, that I ask is, what decision I have taken in past which I think were not right, and basis my own experiences, if I have to go back, how will I change those decisions? It help you test 2-3 things. One is my humility to accept that I have made some mistake, and that is again very important in our office. Second is whether I'm able to learn new thing depending on my own experience, or I again follow what I've been doing it, right? Sometimes people have very theoretical answers to it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you.
You know, right? I mean, you can read a lot of those in basic articles and all, you know how to manage. Yeah. But actually, if you go a little deeper, okay, what was the challenge? Why it happened? What was the thesis behind it? Why you took this step? Ask 5 numbers. If today you have to do it, why? What do you think those numbers will change? You can see whether that is a theoretical, artificial answer, or that is like something which is very, very deep and profound. And from there you can judge whether I learned something or not, or that is just a HR kind of a question.
So it's one broad question, which is, if you were to go back in time and figure out one bad decision or one bad project that you executed, why was it bad? Why was the decision wrong? And if you were to go back and correct it, what would you do? And once you go deeper into this, you'll be able to gauge ownership, culture, and the ability to learn.
Correct. I think the second, again, that I try is, if you replace your manager today, wherever you're working, what 3 new things or 3 different things that you'll do? That also help you understand in the system how much I understand about that business. And if I am put in a different role, how I think about it.
given a choice between two people, extremely creative but not disciplined, not so creative but very disciplined, whom would you pick?
Discipline.
Why?
Again, I said, certain attribute you have to see culturally what work for you. And at times, honestly, these are not either or. If someone is very disciplined but very low in talent, and I'm not willing to learn, that again can be a challenge for the team. I'm hoping you mean few percentage here and there.
Yeah, assuming that they fit in all these qualities like culture, ownership, and the
When I
ability
say
to learn.
discipline,
and unlearn.
because can I bank on you or not?
Hmm.
Right?
Dependency.
Dependency. So, see, again, we are very old school in terms of how we operate.
But that's not old school. I would say that is timeless because everything that you mentioned is not old school. It's timeless.
I was coming on, say, even like we operate from Jaipur, which is not a very busy city. So, travel time from home to office is not a lot. So, we have everyday office where people come, which is 5 days. We don't have a lot of work from home. Because again, we have seen, at least in a newer company, you brainstorm and work on a lot of problems. And as a team, you come with some solutions, right? If I know I'm not part of those meetings, I'm missing those ones because I think I'm better than others. As a team, you can't operate. Which is why I said, I would prefer to work with someone more disciplined, which not just me, the team can bank on.
Do you believe great teams can be built out of work from home?
I think interpersonal connectivity, being in the same environment, help a lot. You start to lose bit of a touch with people. I think I have most of my friends from my office because you spend a lot of time. You build a relationship. Your support for them, both personal and professional, increases a lot because of those relationships. Sometimes those relationships are very difficult to create virtually. And then my intent for that, not just for my team, for a other team also, because again, teams collaborate, work closely. You have a lot of empathy for others' work also. You even have a understanding of their work. Like I give an example. Say if I'm in the marketing team and I want my product to be delivered to a customer, right? Knowing how supply chain work, knowing what kind of their challenges have, right? You will always have those empathy. And as a team, you can figure out a way in which it can be win-win for both. Otherwise, it becomes at times a blame game that, I wanted this, but this team is not working, or vice versa.
So it's empathy, compassion, and collaboration.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for spending such high quality time with me, Mohit. It was a pleasure to have you here. And I'm just taking back so many things. I mean, I say this to all the great people who have been into the podcast. And I love this conversation, especially because I resonate with so many things that you said at such a level that, if in fact, the beautiful story is that both of us, we started somewhere around 2020, right? We actually started our business in 2019. You guys started in 2020. And it is so soothing to see such a wonderful growth story, because sticking to ethics is one thing and making it big by sticking to ethics is another thing altogether. And everything that you shared has been so wonderful. I'm taking back so many things.
I think you are just very kind. Thanks for inviting. Though we started the journey at the same time, but yeah, I mean, you are way more popular.
And you're way more richer, bro.
Yeah, I think it's just about time.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
All right,
It was
cool.
a pleasure.
Thank you.